It feels like Sukkot happens and then straight away we're in the darkness and we're in really deep autumn, feeling winter coming. And for me, one of the things about Shabbat is it's a reminder of the light. That we begin Shabbat by bringing in light, by acknowledging darkness and saying that we're going to bring in light. One of the things that I've done in my home for many decades is to start Shabbat by saying, what darkness am I trying to get rid of from this week? And what light do I want to let in for this Shabbat? That's all right. Oh, should I bring my cup? So, if you want to take a moment just to reflect, take a breath and think, what is the darkness from this week that I want to expel? And what is that great light of Shabbat that is the bigger light, the light of God that I want to let into my life over this sacred time? Sandra, would you do the honours of lighting the Shabbat candles, and we'll welcome in the lights together. Shkoyach.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik neshar Shabbat.
Amen. And with the candles lit, let's welcome in Shabbat and say Shalom Aleichem to the angels of our better nature as they enter into this space with us.
For anybody who wants to welcome in Shabbat with a little bit of musical contribution, Janet's brought some rhythm instruments.
Oh, great.
Janet's going to hand them round. And you're not obliged, but if you find that during any of tonight's musical prayers you get a sense of something rhythmic happening,
I'm not one to be entrusted with rhythm.
we start
Shabbat Shalom. Now, this week is Parshat Noach. It is the story of Noah and the floods. And in the ancient world, the pagans believed that every natural phenomenon was controlled by a different god. And in the world in which they lived, there was already a story of the ancient Babylonian god Tiamat, who flooded the world. Our story is really one of saying that behind everything, behind every natural phenomenon, behind everything that exists, is one God and one truth. And the psalm that we're about to do now, over the page on page 2, from Psalm 95, is saying really explicitly this message, that the sea belongs to God, that it's God who shaped the land, that everything that we see all comes from one source, not many diverse ones. And so in everything that we see, in every one that we see, we are able to also perceive the true underlying unity of reality that we call God. If you turn over leaf to the next page, Psalm 92, let's sing a song for Shabbat.
Some of the, don't bring me backwards, but you'll find it if you search.
Page 3.
Containing Kiyata
Psalm 97, Seeds of Light and Joy. Some of them are printed on the wrong sides. The psalm that we just listened to has a promise that light is sown for the righteous, that ultimately good will triumph. And there's a bit actually that we liberals skip out from the next psalm, from Psalm 92, which is either on a page or back a page, depending on how your one is set up, which we don't read, which says, Vroch Rashaim como Esav. When the wicked flourish, they're like grass, and they will soon wither. And I think there's a message running through these Psalms, there's this idea that having faith is not just having faith in God, but also having faith in people, and recognizing our own trust that ultimately goodness can prevail and that we can play our part to make it so.
Bell curve, stay with
Shabbat will enter in lost time. So when you're standing up, if you're able to demonstrate lost time with your shaker or your feet or
Lost time. I'd ask you to remain standing. We're straight into Baruch now. Let's read together on the middle of Toshbo. Blessed are you, eternal one another, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, roll night away from darkness, and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night. Separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. Baruch atah Adonai, Ama'ariv Aravim. we rise for the Shema.
תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם.
All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. Where we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule, then full of joy we sang together.
Mi amor, Baruch atah Adonai ba'al Yisrael. Turn now to Hashkidogu, Jurow page 1. Please, God, heal her, please.
Sefer
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, קונה שמיים וארץ, מגן אבות, ואמהות בדבריו לחיי הבכור ומאמרו, האל הקדוש שאין כמוהו, המניח לעמו ביום שבת קודשו, כי בם רצה להניח להם, לפניו נעבור כי רם ויבקע, ונודה לשמו ככל יום תמיד, מעון הברכה אל ההודות, אדון השלום, מקדש השבת ומברך שביעית, ומניח בקודשה לעם, מדושני עונג, זרע למעשה בראשית. Let's take some time for silent reflection. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
May we sit.
parsha this week says that Noah was the most righteous person among his generation. Now, on the one hand, you might think that's pretty easy to do. Because if everybody around you is violent and cruel, as we're told was true for the generation of Noah, well, you just have to do the bare minimum to be the most righteous of your generation. On the other hand, if everybody around you is violent and cruel, it's a lot harder to resist that. It's a lot harder not to get swept up in other people's hatred and other people's unkindness. What would it mean to be the most righteous person in a generation today? The Chassids... Well, the Chassids have an idea. They say that... Sorry? I'll get into it. The Chassids, they have this idea called the Lamed Vavniks. You've heard of this before?
Yes, and what's more, one time they were talking about this on Radio 4. I think they were reading a story and they didn't know how to pronounce it and they called it the Lamed Vavnik.
Let's write that wrong.
So Sandra, the 36, exactly. So Lamed Vav is Hebrew for 36. Lamed represents 30 in Gematria, Vav represents 6. And they have this idea that in every generation, there are 36 people on whose account God does not destroy the world. On whose account God thinks, okay, you are righteous enough that the world is worth preserving. Now, Philip, I regret to tell you that one of the main characteristics of a Lamed Vavnik is that they would never possibly believe that they were a Lamed Vavnik because they would be too humble. In fact, if you suspect that somebody might be a Lamed Vavnik, you shouldn't tell them because you might kill them. You know, if somebody gets the idea that they could be a Lamed Vavnik, you could destroy their humility and then they would cease to be a Lamed Vavnik, they would die and they would have to be replaced by another Lamed Vavnik. So it is somebody who is a model of piety, somebody who demonstrates in all their conduct what it is like to be humble, to be God-fearing, to love your neighbor, to care about others. Now, this might sound like too high a standard for anybody to achieve. Or it might sound like the bare minimum. Shouldn't we all be living like we love people? Just as for Noah. So what does the Chassid say? The Chassid says, even if you do not believe that you are the Lamed Vavnik, you should act as if you are. And you should act as if everybody else you know is. You should act as if the fate of the world depends on how you treat others, so that you might model kindness and humility, and you might aspire to be the kind of person for whom God says, I will not send a flood. Shabbat Shalom. We turn now to our Raleinu, which is the Judy Chicago version set to our own Rebecca's tune.
And softness will come through and the weak and the old, and then all will nourish the young, and all will cherish life's riches, and then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth, and everywhere will be called Eden once again.
Can I invite you to stand as we say our Kaddish prayers? The growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so bad with you and me as they might have been is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life and rest in unvisited tombs. This week, we are thinking especially of Pam and Norman Fletcher Jones, remembered by all their friends here at KLS, of Dorothy Nyman, grandmother of Rebecca Singerman Knight, mother of Margaret Singerman, and mother-in-law of David Singerman, Denise Passau, mother of Dominique Schultz, Jamie Alachbanzadeh, husband of Mimi Zadeh, and father to Chloe, Susanna, and Jonathan. If anybody has any names they would like to add, please say them now out loud or in your hearts.
Terry Hardaker, who was a very dear friend of ours.
Let us say together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash mei rabah, v'olma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chai echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chai yedechol beit Yisrael, b'agla v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabah mevarach leolam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu, le'qeila min kol bechata v'shirata, tushvechata v'nechemata, damiram be'olma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Wasei shalom bimromav, hu yasei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei Adam, v'imru amen. You may be seated. We go to our final song now, which is Ki Eshmara Shabbat. If you keep the Shabbat, then this will be a covenant between us and God. And God's in the business of making covenants. We get a covenant this week in the Parsha, a covenant that God will not destroy the earth. And we have to do all this stuff in return. What do we get in return for keeping Shabbat? What does God say in return for us keeping Shabbat? In fact, God says, you keep the Shabbat and I will be God. Which sounds like a bit of a rum deal. Except if you think about what that means, what would it mean for God to say, if you don't keep Shabbat, I will not be God? If we think of God as that source of truth that gives life meaning, if we think of God as some force that says that when we talk about morality, when we talk about beauty, when we talk about love, we're talking about something real that is not just an idea or a fantasy that we have in our heads. When God says, if you keep Shabbat, I will be God, God is saying, if you keep Shabbat, I will keep those things true. The things that you want to be true will be true. The truth that you hold in your heart about what is beautiful, about what is meaningful, about what is moral,
that will be true. And so we turn now to our final song of this night, Ki Yishmera Shabbat, and we reflect on our promise to make Shabbat real in this world and God's promise to make Shabbat real in the next.
It's a long time since this tune has been heard here, so let's just re-familiarise ourselves with it. Tell me if you've heard it before. Ki Yishmera Shabbat el Yishmereini. What do you call it? Oh, so you're going to learn it then? So,
Play it till you get it.
I'll sing it. You sing it back to me. Ki Yishmera Shabbat.
Ki Yishmera Shabbat
El Yishmereini.
el Yishmereini.
Put them together. Ki
Yishmera Shabbat el Yishmereini.
The second half has a different tune. Oh, Leomead. Try that. Oh,
Leomead.
Eino Reini. And we do that again, finishing just a little bit different. Oh, Leomead. Beino Reini. Janet carried these rhythm instruments a long way to be with you tonight. One of the good uses in 4/4 time, which would be like this. Ki Yishmera Shabbat el Yishmereini. That's good. But in fact, the tune comes from the Baghdadi diaspora, the Iraqi Jews who were kicked out of Iraq or chosen over the centuries, including the last century. So, you never get this. It's more like...
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll go into the hall for Kiddush. We'll say goodbye to those joining us on Zoom, and Shabbat Shalom. And hopefully see you all tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah, that works. You didn't have to fuss over it. Really. I do want to get those, maybe between now and the next one, you can photocopy just all the original stuff that I don't have.
Yeah. Do you want to do it?
I mean, is the office open or locked?
Yes.
It's open.
It's open.
Yeah,
You can just turn the machine.
Should I wait until after Kiddush?
Well, do it. Oh, yeah, you can do that for Kiddush. I just want to say,
Touchy?
no, it's to do with what we've got here.
This was the nearest.